Hello and welcome to my 6.0.2 Retribution Paladin PvP guide. I'll be making videos as well to display both of the specs I'm going to go over in action, but this video will cover two specs that I have developed based on the new and improved state of Retribution Paladins in PvP and their uses respectively. My armory will be in the description as well, and I will briefly touch on stat builds and the like, but for now we are going to go over two specs. Those specs are the MARSHAWN LYNCH spec, which is built for arenas and 1v1s, more close quarters combat and support emphasis of the class, and then the laser tag spec, which is RBG oriented, group fight oriented, really focuses more on consistent DPS rather than necessarily supporting your team all of the time. The first build is, yes, you guessed it, putting the team on your back. It is the MARSHAWN LYNCH build. It is built more for arena support and utility, more so than just consistent damage, while it still brings the deeps. Tearing through the talents here, on the level 15 tier, we have Long Arm of the Law, great for peeling, great for diving into a situation. That speed increase is invaluable. You want it. You want it, you want it, you want it. On the level 30 tier, we have Fist of Justice, a 30-second cooldown, 5-second stun. Yeah, you want this as well. On the level 45 tier, we have Selfless Healer, which is great for team support, heals, and pinch situations as you build that up with your judgments, and especially personal mitigation as well, delivered through the power of those heals. On the level 60 tier, we have Clemency, 2 charges to each of your hands, another thing you want. Your class's support because you can do this. Huge, huge team play based around Clemency. Take it. Now, the purpose for taking Holy Avenger on the level 75 tier for this build specifically is the fact that every holy power generating move you use during its duration will generate 3 holy power, which means that in a burst situation, you get to use Templars over and over again for huge damage, or if you find yourself pressured or a teammate pressured, you can use those 3 holy power to give them mad off heals. Great for support, great for pressure. During its duration, this will turn the tide of a fight. On level 90 tier, we take Execution Sentence. This is another talent great for personal heals when macroed incorrectly, as well as team heals. And not to mention now, with the 6.0.2 changes, Execution Sentence when placed on an enemy hits like a truck. Great for support, also great for damage. On the level 100 tier, this spec is built around empowered seals, but we will get to that when the time is right. For now, we will move on to glyphs. Now, the glyphs for Ret have really not changed. I am using the glyphs that I used in the previous season as well. I find these to be the most effective. The first major glyph here is Templar's Verdict. Every time that you use Exorcism or Templar's Verdict, it will reduce the damage taken by 10%. As a Ret Paladin and not a class that has a lot of personal mitigation for actual damage, this is a great glyph. Give yourself a little. Next glyph as well here is Word of Glory. Especially back in Mists, this was almost a necessary glyph, but now it is just really a powerhouse glyph. Every time you use your Word of Glory, for each holy power spent, you increase your damage done for 6 seconds by 3% per holy power. Great glyph. Last but not least, we got the Glyph of Burden of Guilt. Every time you use your Judgment, this applies a 2-second slow to the target of which you used it on. Great for gap closing, great for peeling away from a class when you need to go heal yourself or a teammate as well. And although this is not a major glyph, I do really enjoy the minor glyph Righteous Retreat. Reduces the cast time of your Hearthstone by 50% while in bubble. Just get out of there. The second build that we will be going over is the Laser Tag build, which once again is designed more to do with RBG utility and group fight utility because of the consistent damage that it is built to put out. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this build is that up to level 60, starting at 15 and up to level 60, all of the talent choices are still the same as the MARSHAWN LYNCH build. This is a personal preference. I know that there are things you can build specifically to change this up a little bit, like Sacred Shield on the level 45 talent, or perhaps even Unbreakable Spirit on the level 60 talent, but personally, I do find these to be pretty commonplace between any Ret spec. As you can see on the level 75 tier, we have moved to Sanctified Wrath, which increases the duration of your Avenging Wrath by 50% and reduces the cooldown of your Hammer of Wrath by 50% as well. On the level 90 tier as well, we have moved from Execution Sentence now to Holy Prism, which is a move that is on a much shorter cooldown, 15 seconds, I believe, that deals prismatic damage off of one target up to 4,000 base and healing up to 4 targets around the enemy target as well, including yourself. And as Warlords of Draenor rolls around as well, rather than Empowered Seals on the level 100 tier, we will be taking Final Verdict, and I will explain why. Immediately, the emphasis with Sanctified Wrath, Holy Prism, and Final Verdict is that most of your moves as Ret are now ranged. This makes target swapping within group situations ace, and on top of your damage being consistent, on short cooldowns, and with increased durations. Not to mention, the buffs to Divine Storm that you get from Final Verdict, and especially the damage and range, are key in group fights. Massive utility. Moving into the glyphs for laser tag, the first thing you're going to notice is it is exactly the same as the MARSHAWN Lynch spec. Again, this is personal preference, but I find these glyphs to be pretty commonplace between both specs. If you are looking to explore other glyph options though, there are 2 glyphs that I think emphasize the usage within the laser tag spec very well. This is Glyph of Divine Storm, which heals the user for 4% of its maximum health every time Divine Storm is used. And then as well, there is the Glyph of Harsh Words, which adds a ranged element and ranged damage to your Word of Glory, which if you're going for that ranged feel, this is a pretty good choice as well. Stat builds for Rets I find to be pretty much the same. I still do build Crit and Haste. In Warlords, you are going to be looking at a bit more of multi-strike, but I will delve into that in a later video and explain why. But as you can see, even with Reforging gone, my Mastery buff up, those numbers are all still really high. I've got a great amount of Mastery, great amount of Crit, great amount of Haste, making for a very well-rounded build and a very powerful build at that. And that concludes my basic rundown of 6.0.2 Retribution Paladins. As always, if you have comments or suggestions on builds that you have tried and found to be successful in endeavors in PvP as well, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Subscribe, be sure to check out other videos. I will be updating this channel with videos throughout the season and as Warlords approaches as well. And streaming on Twitch is a new hobby. Be sure to check that out in the description below. Thanks for watching.